geeks? Time for our weekly conversation, except for the last week when I missed the week because we were prepping for a big week that's happening this week that I'm currently in the middle of. Back to the same boring red backdrop, but that's going to get fixed for tomorrow's Free Comic Book Day. Missed last week, but welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Got a lot to go over. Star Trek Picard season finale. Star Trek Strange New World is season premiere, which I thought was awesome on so many levels. And first and foremost, we're going to go over Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. We had our private screening last night with a lot of fun. If you go to any of our social media, you'll see all the pics and stuff that we were able to put. And some of the people came dressed up as Doctor Strange. And like I said, it's always fun, no matter what level of quality the movie is, good or bad, to get together with a bunch of people to watch it with. Like I said, I watched Dude in my car with a group of people, and I hated that movie. And the only fun that movie represented to me was the fact that I saw it with Army buddies of mine. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and start bringing in our guests, and then we're going to hit on these topics. Thade, Brian, Master of None, and regrettably, Cylon Scotty. Just kidding. How you doing, Cylon? Hope you're feeling better. Can you hear me?
Can't hear you.
I can't hear you.
You're muted, buddy.
You're muted, Cylon, but okay. How's everybody doing?
Stop.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, I can hear everybody else.
What up, dude?
Cool. Who all here has seen Doctor Strange?
Saw
I
it
did.
today.
You
Yeah.
saw it today?
I have. Yeah, I saw it today.
I was
Saw
able
it
to
today?
see
How about you?
online screener, so I didn't
So
have to
we've
go
all
out.
seen it then.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. All right, let me go ahead and bring up our first. It's going to be an abbreviated show today because A, I'm beat tired. B, I got to get ready for Free Comic Book Day tomorrow, which I'll talk about later. And like I said, it's been we did May the 4th. I don't know if you guys have seen the video I posted. We were able to do a very lengthy lightsaber duel here in our plaza with lit lightsabers.
Yeah, I watched that. That was interesting.
Yeah, so it's been a long week. I don't even know if I can post that with copyright stuff, all that, but who knows? I'm gonna do it anyway. If I get a strike, I get a strike. So this happened. I'm gonna get your guys' opinion. I'm gonna start with Brian.
It was okay. Kind of like the first one, a little bit better. As my name states, I think I'm getting tired of comic book movies.
I didn't even see that.
I
don't know if I'm there yet.
I'm just like, I don't know, dude. I get out, we talk about them, and it's like, these movies aren't like, I do not consider them to be. Call me Martin Scorsese. These are not high art, in my opinion. Okay, so like, I don't know. Just, I think it's the talking about it mostly. So I feel like I'm burning out on a lot of this stuff. But Multiverse of Madness. It was good. I had fun.
Dade?
I thought it was pretty interesting. I didn't really like seeing it. Was just like, reminding me of what people had already told me anyway, and stuff that I figured was coming. I mean, it was a good movie, and it was a great Sam Raimi movie, in my opinion. It's already been. It already got spoiled for me like 3 or 4 days before. So,
well, hell, the trailers, and now that I've seen it, the trailers do, put a lot out there. I mean, except for some of the cameos that I will not spoil for people. This is a non-spoiler review.
I had whole scenes of the movie sent to me by a person that had already seen it internationally.
Damn.
And they sent me like whole clips of the movie, so I already knew what was coming.
I had a pretty good idea because people here at CinemaCon saw it the first 20 minutes of it, so I knew that was going to be bonkers. Silon, what did you think?
I mean, I'm kind of in Brian's camp. I'm not the biggest Marvel fan, so my opinion should probably be less on it. This is what I'll say. I'm not a person who goes into expectations and has those expectations dashed. So I am a person who does not care. I go into it, I look at the movie, I watch it, check it on Sunday.
Oops. Hold up. Let me fix my sound real quick, guys. Hold up.
You guys,
Barely. You're kind of roboting a little bit.
All right.
I could barely hear Scotty.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now? How am I coming?
Yeah.
through?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I can barely hear Scotty.
Okay, it might be a mic issue with you, Scotty. But all right, my review of it. Listen, Sam Raimi fans, this is a gift to you. I mean, this is Sam Raimi's movie. It has a lot of issues, though. I'm wavering from a okay to not very good movie, simply and it has nothing to do with him. It has nothing to do with the performances. Out of all the MCU movies I've ever seen, and since 2000, whatever, this is the worst edited one. I felt the flow of the movie started and stopped and either stayed too long on certain things and didn't stay long enough on other things. I thought they brought in some excellent elements that were really fun to see, but nothing that was brought into this movie had enough time to really become relevant. And I know it's a Doctor Strange movie, but I mean relevant to the story. I felt that the cameos didn't have any true meaning to me other than the fact that we're establishing a multiverse, but there was nothing significant, especially how those cameos played out. I thought was like, that was sort of anticlimactic. The pace of the movie was awful. Even though it was a fun movie to watch, the pacing of it was awful. And when I hear that, now I understand where the 40 minutes must have gone. I really hope to see the 2 hour and 40-minute version, because the 2 hour and 4-minute version was really hard to maintain certain excitement levels about. The things that were good about it were really good. It's a horror movie, and the 80s horror fan in me loves some of the stuff. It's gory. It's gorier than any of the Marvel stuff I recall seeing. It opens up with gore. It opens up with some violence, and some of the violence in it was a little bit different than I've seen. I mean, I've seen violence in all these comic book movies, but not this particular type of violence that was in Doctor Strange. The death scenes are pretty gruesome. So, I won't tell you who dies and when, but it's pretty graphic. It's more graphic than they've done, and so you could tell it's a Sam Raimi movie. People who may not even be comic book fans, if they're fans of Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2 or Army of Darkness, they're going to enjoy this movie without ever having seen a comic book movie, to be honest with you. That being said, and I don't blame this on him. I mean, there's somewhere in there's a good movie, but this is the second movie in a row now that I've seen where they've cut the movie to the point where they may have cut things in the movie that might have been a better movie. So, listen, if the movie flows, I will sit for 2 hours and 40 minutes. I will sit for 3 hours if I need to. I would rather sit for 2 hours and 40 minutes and 3 hours than have the kind of movie I saw last night where you could clearly tell where stories within stories were either truncated or there's some spots in the beginning that kind of took too much time, and other spots that were really awesome that didn't have enough. Certain characters in there, and I won't reveal. There's one particular character in there, and when I do a spoiler, I'll let you know. I thought that particular character needed 3 times as much time as that character got. Elizabeth Olsen is great in this. I don't like what they did with her character here, but for what she was asked to do, she achieves it. Benedict Cumberbatch is what you would expect. Wong, I thought Wong for the time he was on screen was significant, and he sold it. I mean, everybody who came there did what did good performances. It didn't come together for me. Like I said, it's not a horrible movie, not a bad movie. It's fun. But overall, when you put those aspects forward, it has some issues with it. I sat with a bunch of people who said it was their favorite Marvel movie. So I mean, this is just me talking. I still recommend people to go see it though, because like I said, it's a fun night out. And there are aspects of it to it that, like I said, if you're Sam Raimi, you are the camp. Like I said, some of the cameos I just thought were meaningless and didn't feed into the story, where they were not relevant. So that's what I had an issue. So, like I said, rewatchability for me, I'll wait till Disney Plus and then I'll break it down then. But better than the Thor movies, which is not hard, but not near No Way Home or Captain America or Avengers 2012. It's somewhere of all these movies. I would put this in the mid tier, maybe in the Ant-Man-ish, Guardians of the Galaxy-ish area, But that Sam Raimi factor is a tiebreaker with all those, because, like I said, it's Sam Raimi, and I think if you enjoy this movie, you're going to overlook everything I just told you, and you're going to have a lot of fun with it. So that's my review. Go ahead. I can hear you now, Silent.
Is that better, guys?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, sorry about that. I haven't been down here in like a week, so it wasn't calibrated up, and my voice is also messed up, right?
Oh yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Wow, just glad to see you live and kicking, man. I mean, geez.
Yeah, thanks for having me on tonight. Yeah, like I won't rehash anything you just said. I just want to say this. This is what I'm getting tired of. I'm tired of listening to, hours and hours and hours of Marvel fans having all these like quote unquote scoops, expectations, like this is going to happen. Look, the bottom line is this was not the franchise builder that you all made it out to be. You can say it's a fun popcorn movie, but this is like where I was like, I'm just kind of like done with Marvel in general. Like it, I mean, for now, like I'm not going to get excited about it. If something comes along and it's good, I'll watch it, and I'm not hating on it, but I'm watching this movie and I'm hearing all these Marvel fans like, oh, that was so awesome. It's like, it must just simply not be for me.
Yeah. And see, for me, there were some awe-inspiring moments in the movie. It just didn't come together for me. And like I said, I don't hate this movie. It just didn't come together for me,
The whole time I was watching the movie, I kept thinking about how I would rather come on here and talk about what happened on Star Trek this week.
We're going to get to that, boy. We're going to get to that. Yeah. You know what?
I'll be traveling.
Yeah. I when I first saw that, we'll get into that in more detail. I was like, what is going on? And when he said I used to be called Wesley Crusher, I'm like, are you going to come out and say you're Will Wheaton right on this damn thing and do a fourth dimension on me? But I like where that was going.
We can get the camera. Oh, dude. Yeah. I got up and left.
That made her character, which was totally meaningful in like 2 minutes. That made her character 10 times more relevant. And I will be spoiling Star Trek Picard because you guys have had enough time to see that, damn it. Let me go into the Stranger Strange 2. I'm in the 5 and the 6 range. Like I said, I didn't hate it. I had a lot of fun with it, but it was just like cinematically, it just didn't. Like you go from No Way Home, which was a logical sequel. No Way Home flowed, and then the fan service that's in this movie. There's fan service in both No Way Home and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. The fan service in No Way Home works. It boisters the character, the main character, and it boisters the story. The fanfare in Doctor Strange 2 doesn't. It's just there. And there was one cameo that I thought with the theater was going to explode, and he didn't. And I'm not going to tell you who it is, but when I saw that cameo, I'm like,
cared. Uh-oh. I was like, get out of here. I was like, what? And then
nobody
silence in the theater.
And I wonder, anybody who saw it in the chat room, without saying who it was, do not spoil it. I think you all know in the chat room what I'm talking about. When that particular person came on, how did your theater react for those of you who saw it? Because I looked around, I'm like, okay, here it comes. There's going to be pee everywhere because people are going to be peeing in their pants. I'm like, no.
Not a drop. I was like, oh, wow.
I'm like, what? I'm like, and then that did that because I was like, that was kind of cool because of certain aspects of it, even though
I think if a particular cameo hadn't been spoiled in the trailer, the theater would have reacted better to it.
Well, that one was kind of, and his was irrelevant to me.
That wasn't the one that I was.
Yeah, we're talking about another one, but that
I think I know the one you're talking about. Actually, I liked it, but like I
liked it, but
I think the problem is that nobody really knows who that character is.
Okay, we're talking
unless you're a comic book fan.
Private chat with me who you think you're talking about, because I think we're talking about two different people. Because there was one that everybody knew and nobody responded the way I thought that after all this time that they were responding.
Oh, well, yeah, that was.
But I'm not like I said, I'm not the spoiler guy.
I mean, it was in the trailer. I mean, I feel like it's okay to say that one, but I mean, I get it. I don't want to cross.
Yeah, there's another one that's not in the trailer, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. It's a Sam Raimi without doubt. Although, like I said, he saves this movie. His direction of what he had to work with saves this movie. I want to see the rest of the movie though, because there's certain things in there. Like I said, there's a certain character, not one of the cameos, but a certain character that you did see in the trailer that I really wanted to see more of, given the content and the subject of the movie. I thought that character should have been a lot more relevant. I thought there were some common sense plot holes in there that just didn't make sense. But you have to suspend your belief when you're watching.
Well, he forgave himself in the end, though, right? Like he forgave himself and was open to love. Oh wait, wrong one.
Yeah,
never mind.
All right, so who is the guest people? Okay, for me, I'm I'm okay with the difference of the formula. I just want it to be done well. I like the change in faith, but it just wasn't done well for me. I mean, if you're going to change up the formula, that's no problem. But execute it a little bit better. Listen, and I understand why they want to cut these movies down because you can only screen so many movies with the kind of time you have in a theater and all that. But on the other hand, when you cut things, when a director is trying to give you the flow that is in his mind, and then an editor comes in from an editor's point of view, I'm like, I can feel it, and I'm not a film editor, right? Your mind knows when a movie's been kind of cut up. So I had some issues there. What wasn't a problem with the new formula? It was a problem with the way they executed it. Listen, like I said, Sam Raimi's fingerprints saved this movie, along with the individual performances. Elizabeth Olsen, like I said, I don't like the road they sent her character on, but her performance in here, if you loved WandaVision, and I wasn't the biggest fan of the overall show, but I was a fan of her. If you love WandaVision, you will love her in this. Even if you don't agree with the direction that they took her character, you will love how she's great in this.
Well, what's interesting, I agree with that. What's interesting to me about that is, a lot of people, and including some of the people in our community here, were like, "Oh, you got to watch WandaVision before you watch Doctor Strange." Now, fair enough, they said that before they had watched the movie. But Kevin Feige said you don't have to watch WandaVision to enjoy this movie, and that is 100% true. Yeah. They dropped everything. There's nothing in WandaVision at all that has any sort of relevance in this, apart from just simply understanding that,
her motives,
right? Her motivation.
Yeah, which could have been a 5-minute scene and achieve the same effect for the extent they use her.
I was going to say, sorry, Scotty. Sorry,
you're good, man. Go.
I was going to say that ultimately my only real problem with this movie is, well, I've got a couple. One, it is not formulaic Marvel movies, and I'm okay with that. But to like people looking for the formula, they're not going to like it. Two, there was that whole middle section was kind of slow, and the middle section I'm talking about, the cameos galore and all that. That whole middle section was kind of slow, and the movie could have gone without it, even though it was pure fan service. And three, I was okay with what they did with Wanda to an extent, because of course the stuff she's gone through in the comics and everything. But I think it was a little on the nose, possibly.
It was a little on the nose, and I thought it was a little more brutal. And I've read the comics. I thought it was a little more brutal for brutality's sake. For me,
well, yeah, and
there's no.
And that's the thing.
In the comics, there's a going back. She can come back to her core.
Well, and I said that too. I said that too in a tweet, Twitter post earlier, because they were like, "Yeah, there's no redeeming." But I was like, actually, in the comics they did. She had a hard road, but she came back from it. But like in this movie, probably not.
No.
I don't think. I mean, unless they bring in a variant or something, explain it that way, then no. But like,
without spoiling it, there's a way of a variance that they could have used just to tell the entire story, but they didn't, and that was a missed opportunity for me. My theater applauded and cheered when both cameos happened. Okay, I got a murmur and there was some clapping, but when this particular one that we're talking about, everybody keep it lit on it. I thought that one would have gotten a lot more than it did, because like I said, we all knew. Listen, everybody and their mother knew that Garfield and Toby were going to be in that movie. Yet when those guys came through those portholes, my crowd that I went with went bonkers.
Yeah,
and that's for cameos you knew they were going to be in there.
Okay,
for the one cameo that you guys were saying you didn't hear anything, from your audience on, I got like 3 or 4 people were good on that one, but strangely enough, there was more applause out of the one we knew was coming from the trailer than there was for the one you're talking about.
Yeah, and I'm like, about him, and I'm sorry, that cameo sucked.
It
All
did.
right? I'm not going to spoil anything for you. The one that we know
music
about in the
number,
trailer,
the music number they put behind him was dumb. It was dumb.
Cameo, yeah, that was stupid. You know how I feel
cringy.
about that.
And I love that series, by the way. I love that.
And I hate it, but that's fine.
It's okay.
That's not what that
We
cameo
both hated it, right? I love it. You know, yeah. I want to say, look, I don't want to talk about this too long, any longer than we have to, because I just want to talk about Star Trek. But I will say this: what the hell do people mean when they say the Marvel formula? I don't even know what you mean. I don't see a formula. All the movies have a different style. All of them have a different flavor. All of them have a somewhat different sort of structure as to when things happen, when climaxes happen, how they end, what the villains are, the structure of a villain. They're all fucking different. What do you mean by that?
I'm happy to hear somebody. I'm happy to hear somebody waiting to get to Star Trek. I usually have to drag everybody in or have to.
I'm working it all day. I don't care.
Well, hold on.
The thing about the formula. Actually, I want to talk about Star Trek too. But the thing about the formula is what I meant, and honestly, I don't see the formula either, but a lot of people do.
I just don't know what you mean by it. Like, what do you mean?
It's DC coping is what I call the formula. Okay, it's DC fans that are like, "Oh, Marvel movies are great, but they're all the same."
Yeah, that's basic. It's a cope.
Formula.
Literally, it's a cope. But like a lot of people say, well, there's got to be a certain amount of humor in the movie. There's got to be a certain amount of this and that, and they always kill they always kill the villains, which that is a gripe I have. There have not been many of these Marvel villains that have stuck around.
Well, that's comic books. I don't know. I feel like they're all varied. I feel like they all have their flavor, creativity. If we're talking about Thor or Guardians,
personally, I think the same.
Yeah,
I think the same.
I guess I felt I was missing something. Like, what are you all talking about? I just don't know.
I hear it from people who love it. There's a certain schematic that they use to build it as far as how the movies flow and the payoff goes. I think that's loosely there in all their movies. But like I said, this one, movies like Eternals and this one, there's no formula. This Sam Raimi did not give a rat's ass about anybody's formula when he was making this movie. He just made his movie, in which I'm okay.
The one last thing I will say about this before we get to the other stuff that we're really here to talk about is William. I think that Raimi has hinted that we're going to get that extra 40 minutes worth of footage, probably in the release, when it releases.
And that's fine. And like I said, I think it'll make for a much better movie, because like I said, I can if I had to, I could sit there and watch it again and pick where I guarantee you that they edited, because like I said, certain things in the movie just didn't work for me. And when I was getting into the flow of the movie, it just kind of like took it away. So, but like I said, we are going to go into what I thought was one of the best things that happened this week, other than The Godfather, making The Godfather the offer, which is, since it's not science fiction, horror, fantasy, or comic books, we won't be talking about that. But like I said,
good series though.
Wow, if any of this is true, that would happen in that, to get that movie made. Holy cow!
Yeah,
I know. Literally.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
The Columbo stuff. It is something else. So, Strange New Worlds. We've been waiting for this to come out since the first episodes that Pike appeared in, and to me that was a turning point of Star Trek Discovery. It was the best stuff that they had put out. If you guys haven't seen the episodes that in season 2 that had happened, there's a particular episode. This is not a spoiler. You've had almost 3 years to see this. Right. Obviously, we know what happens to Christopher Pike. Him ending up in the mobilized chair from the menagerie, and the pilot. In those episodes, he touches his stone on the Klingon moon, Forest Moon, and he sees his fate. He knows how he's going to end up. He knows when it's going to happen. He knows how it happens, and he feels how it's happened. He now has to live his life knowing that that's going to happen. So to me, that changes the trajectory of this. Is not just a prequel. This is something that could go drastically in a different way, simply on the fact that he knows his fate. And they are talking about it. He and Spock have an excellent conversation.
Oh yeah.
About it. When they're talking about it, and Spock, Ethan Peck, who plays Spock, is great. I'm not going to touch Leonard Nimoy's, obviously, his legendary performance, but I thoroughly enjoy Ethan Peck. He sounds like him. His mannerisms are like him, and the response is written the way Spock would always respond throughout his life. So, and he's telling, and he trusts him. Remember, Spock's only a lieutenant here. He's not the first officer yet. He's not the number one yet, but he's still confiding in him in this wisdom that I thought was great. I watched it immediately. I mean, I was on Enosh's stream where there was a group chat that was hosting it for me, and then we did an afterwards after that. I love this first episode. What about you, Brian? I'll start with you because you're usually my only ride or die Star Trek geek, and now we got 4 of them on here. But
I really enjoyed it. Oh my gosh, everything. The theme where it had like little hints of the original series theme in it, and just. I mean, I love the fact that how they cast a lot of the characters that we all know and love. They were great. I mean, I could see, once again, thank you, Star Trek. I can see why people would be upset with it. But I will tell you this, okay? Like, my gripes with Picard, Strange New Worlds did it right.
Word.
Okay, so when you take political allegory in Star Trek, it's usually not like beat you up in an ice raid and then... it's more like what we saw with the first contact with these people. And not only that, but it kind of tied into one of those Voyager episodes where like, Voyager left behind something and come to find out that was how they destroyed themselves, was not using warp for propulsion, but for explosion. So, I mean, like I said, it was a great episode. I love how they handled it. Like, where has this been the whole time kind of thing. No, I'm waiting to see. The only thing I'm afraid of with this show is I'm starting to feel like they're going to reboot / retcon the original series with the show.
There's no way around it. And that, to me, that's the most intriguing part about it because we're already in a new era now, simply because, like I said, he knows his fate. That alone is an immediate divergent change. I think they can retcon things without retconning them because guess what? We never saw Christopher Pike after that. We never really saw. There's nothing to really. This is the most intriguing character because he's legendary because we know who he is, but there's really nothing to mess up. There's so many ways you can go with this character to where we never knew enough of the history to really, to upset me. And I see some of them like the Noonien and all that. That's going to be kind of tricky depending on where they're going to go with that. And that brings me to an aspect of Picard. Listen, I love New Trek. I am all, but this Picard was a New Trek. Picard was nostalgia, trying to rehash old memories and giving you a familiar song on the radio. Trek. And
don't even give it that much credit. Don't even give it that. It's not even that.
The time stuff. I don't know why I'm not cussing. I'm not on anybody's channel.
Sorry, I'll try.
Time stuff that they did in this last episode was bullshit.
It's dumb.
Where's Rios? What?
Yeah.
We just don't pay attention to your station. Whoa, wait a minute. Time out.
I was okay with that.
But
that's fine. I mean, fair enough. Granted. I mean, it's the least problem of the whole thing.
It is, but it stood out to me because they spend this whole time, we stay out of the way. We can't do this. You can't do that. Oh, go ahead and stay behind them. What? But I'm like, all right, fine. The rest of it, though, like I said, the Will Wheaton thing, I never thought I would say that a Will Wheaton scene was my favorite scene in the Star Trek episode.
I loved it. I hate
but
to say it. I loved it.
Character, because I had a problem with her character. I had a problem with her character.
Oh yeah, because she was like she was shoehorned in, and then like the fact that it's like the same. His clone daughter is the same design as all of the future androids. I'm just like, okay, get out of here. Oh no.
Yeah, but like I said, within an instant. Bam,
when he picked up the folder at the end, though, I was like, ooh. And then what I really like is that Star Trek: Strange New Worlds expanded upon that last episode of Picard.
Yeah, literally.
Because it talked about the Second Civil War. It talked about the Eugenics War, which was that folder that, Adam Sung had. And then he talked about World War III, where we basically wiped ourselves out except for a small pockets of,
I love the way the visual aids used.
Okay, so
he's like, hey, look at this.
So my opinion on Strange New Worlds. First of all, I liked that they actually, if you know Star Trek, like we probably all four should, there was always that they'd always talked about the captain, the very first captain of that particular Enterprise, Robert April. And I like the fact that they show him in the first part of that episode.
Yeah.
Admiral, having that callback was nice. And I think I'm going to like this actor playing Robert April, because I assume he's going to continue on. He's going to be like the Admiral or whatever.
Like what Vance was in the was in Discovery. I liked him. I thought he was pussyfooting around with Pike at the beginning there. You know, I listen. I'm an admiral. You're a captain. I'm not asking you shit.
You're going to do shit. Yeah.
Get off your horse and go to work.
I want to agree with William. I love that he knows his fate. I love that he can see it, and I love that he knows it's inevitable. Because that's going to make it. Because it's going to do like what Liana said later on, or Leon, whatever the girl said about, you know, how fate is, you know, what she helps him realize with the fact that, you know, even though you know your fate's inevitable, it's what you do on the way there that matters. And I think that's going to make this particular version of Pike kind of flow better and maybe grow a little bit more before he does meet his inevitable fate.
And it also introduces the fact that it may not happen that way.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Secondly, can we just speak about how well Anson Mount plays Pike? Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
he does.
Second performance of the... Oh, never mind. Oops.
He does incredible.
Have you ever watched the show Hell on Wheels?
Yes.
No.
I loved Hell on Wheels, and he was a main character in that show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just a phenomenal actor. Yeah.
Something that made me cheer out loud, though, was the name drop on that chick. The last name drop on that chick, because you know who she's connected to.
Yeah. And
being that she's a descendant of an augment makes me wonder how she is, whether she has some of the same physiology.
Is that why she survived the Gorn?
Mm-hmm.
Is that why she survived the Gorn? Is that why she's so tough? I'm intrigued by her character. I want to see where that goes. Third,
if they find out she's going to be put out, she shouldn't even be in Starfleet if she's she's basically an augment. She's a descendant of an augment, right? So remember, Julian had to get out, or they were going to try to force him out, and they ended up not.
Yeah, I love how they did the first contact with that species. That was amazing, and to get those history points of the wars that led up to World War III. That was good. I mean, we've known about them through different series, and we've gotten different picks on like different pieces of it. But having him like line it out like that was amazing. I liked how he showed that to him. You know. Yeah. And I love the hints that they're gonna, you know, that this is where the whole idea behind the Prime Directive comes from and everything.
Yeah, because they didn't really call it the Prime Directive in there, did they? They called it Order Number 1 or something like that.
Well, it wasn't just a hint. This whole episode was an origin story for the Prime Directive. It's the reason why it was created. That's more than a hint. That is the point of the episode.
Yeah.
Right. I just think they really did this one very well. And I'm looking forward to this show. And like, if you watched it on, well, I guess the only way we can watch it is Paramount Plus, but like the little hints for what's going to come in the later parts of the season, that was amazing. I think this storyline, at least the first season storyline, is going to be great. I'm also like the fact that, well, I don't know if that's a spoiler so much. The person who shows up on the bridge at the very end of the episode.
Oh yeah.
I love that. I love that wink towards the series, because considering what we know is, well, I've been told is coming for who's going to play who in the second season.
Well, they've announced that, so yeah, they've actually announced that, and that's another thing that because James T. Kirk has been announced for the second season. A lot of people are like, "Well, we're jumping all into this, we're jumping all into that." I'm like, you got to realize we're at the point in Pike's career where he ascends to Commodore, to fleet captain. So he's only a year or so away, if not months away, from being a fleet captain. In fact, we should probably, at the end of this season, the way that if the timing is right, he should be a fleet captain by the end of this series. At the end of the
season, he will be.
So, which means somehow Kirk has to come in as a lieutenant, because Kirk, and if you keep it to canon, which they don't have, they can do whatever the hell they want to. But if they bring in Kirk as the storyline dictates, where he comes in as a lieutenant and he's promoted automatically to captain because something happens, then
I hope what we get out of this, like especially with Kirk, I hope we get the heroism that gained him the oak leaf clusters and all of that. I hope we get to see that story.
Well, I want to see, because there's something that happens that he is instantly. It's just like Picard. Him and Picard didn't jump. They didn't go through the usual roles of captain. Picard was never a lieutenant commander, and he was never a commander. Him and just after Crusher's father died, I understand he was
shifted to captain.
Same thing with Kirk. So you have two of them that had that in common. That never. So something happens that now I get to see it with
like Kirk. I kind of want to see what happened at Annex-R. They've always hinted it through the story. I want to know what happened, because I think that's the catalyst that causes him to jump to captain.
Yeah, now I get to see it. So it's kind of cool. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of prequels. That's one of the things that have pretty much put me outside of the Star Wars excitement in universe, because of the fact that you're telling me stuff and I need to go forward. But this is a little bit different because of that caveat of the fact that it may not turn out the way we know it. Whereas the Star Wars stuff has to logically lead to where they're going. This does not have to. This does not have to. They can do whatever the hell they want here. And you have other elements of Star Trek that make it to where this could end up wherever they want it to end up. So it's not confined within the same neighborhood as everything else is.
I don't know if I agree with you. I don't know if I agree with you, though, that they're going to retcon. That this is.
I don't know retcon. I don't know if it's retcon is the word.
I think what Brian brought up. I don't think so. Because look, they bring in Sam Kirk. I think there's an easy way to tie in.
Spoiler.
That's not
either.
It's not either. I mean, probably nobody in this chat even knows who that is. I mean, I thought, I'm a huge, original series fan. And it actually took me a second. I was like, I heard it, I saw him, and then I saw the mustache, and I was like, wait. And then I had to actually look it up because it wasn't like right in my memory.
Yeah, see, this is before he went to Deneva. That's before he went to Deneva.
Well, of course. Well, that's kind of my point. So I think that's where it's heading. I think if we see that happen, then we'll know this isn't a retcon. This is, a prequel. This is going to tie directly into the original series. I don't know, Brian, what did you think about that?
And no, Protoss X, that is not his dad. That is his brother.
Correct.
No, I think the addition of Kirk is going to be is nice. But like I said, it's just a fear of mine that they might like.
Yeah. When you say retcon, what do you mean?
No. I said retcon / reboot.
I don't think.
Okay, that I don't think will happen. But when I my whole point, when like I said, there's one aspect about it that I think changes the way the story, not reboots or retcons, but changes the way the story could end up simply by the fact that the knowledge of that is there, which is.
Well,
Can I speak to one more thing?
Hold on. Before you do, I want to let Brian finish his point. Why do you think that? Why are you worried that this might be a retcon?
Because what happens afterwards? We already know what happens with the Montelos.
Sure.
What happens afterwards when he's chairbound?
That intrigues me.
And we have Captain Kirk next season.
Well, do we have Captain Kirk next season to start off with? Or do we get Lieutenant Kirk that ends up being Captain Kirk? Because remember,
see the fear. Like I don't.
Okay, so you're not saying there's something in this episode that's giving you that indication. You're just worried that it might.
I just kind of feel like this show is going to do that.
Okay.
Because
all right,
like kind of like you said before about how it's how New Trek has treated old Trek.
Word. Yeah.
It's kind of gone out of its way to take dumps on it from time to time.
Yeah.
And I feel like this show is a vehicle to do that.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
I got high hopes though. I after Picard,
I have high hopes, and I think
I was really soured. I almost didn't even want to watch it. That's how soured I was on Picard.
Well, see, here's the thing, okay?
But I loved it.
I'll talk about the end of Picard. Okay, the last 2 episodes of Picard were awesome.
Before you continue with that, Brian, can I say one last thing on Strange New Worlds that I'd forgotten to add?
Go ahead.
Well, we're not done.
It's something you spoke to a minute ago, and actually William spoke to it too. I hesitate to use the word woke, but a lot of Picard has upset me somewhat to where they like beat you over the head with certain things. And Star Trek has always been somewhat SJW. It's always been forward thinking or progressive thinking. I think this harkens back to how original Trek was forward thinking, was progressive thinking. I love the way that they did First Contact. I think that I'm not as worried about this show with that sort of aspect as I am with Picard.
Yeah, well, I mean, you kind of nailed it in what the issue is. The issue is Picard literally turned it into a stick and beat you with it. But the way that Star Trek has traditionally done it, and the way that I feel like Strange New Worlds did in this episode, is it's a lot more gentler. It's a lot more gracious. It's about, look, you're messing up right now, but this is what you need to look forward to. This is what you need to set your priority to. This is what you need to set your purpose to. And this is how we're going to get there together. And that's the difference, right? It's not about the message itself. It's
and
about
also
with the
one last thing I want to say about Pike. Pike was one of James Kirk's mentors. Pike is who James Kirk aspired to be. I mean, you kind of get that in the Kelvin timeline movies, but you can see him being the catalyst for what Kirk later becomes here in this show. Like the way he talked to those people, the way he showed them what happened on Earth, he was trying to be easy with it, but he was also saying, this is what's going to happen to you. We know what's going to happen to you. You need to change the way you're doing things, and you can do it this way. And that to me was very, like, I could see this version of Pike being the mentor to James Kirk.
Yeah, I think Kirk is going to spend most of the season, next season, as a lieutenant, and then something is going to happen at that end where it leads to the promotion of Pike and the ascension of Kirk. So I think we're okay there as far as that lineage goes. Like I said, the most intriguing thing about this series for me is how this particular character handles the knowledge, and if that means that he leads it right to it with no changes, or does something happen in particular to where, just the fact that he knows that it just changes everything for me. So I like the way he deals with it. Obviously, the original timeline before he touches that stone, that who knows if it had him talking to Spock about his impending fate, because of the prior to that, would Spock have known about that, or him knowing that? So there's some changes that are there already that I don't think would lead to to the detriment of the series. So I'm happy to see it. I thought Picard. Problem I have with Picard was it was a lot. It's just like next season for me. It might be hard to watch because it's a lot of fan service from an era that, like I said,
already did it fine. It's already done.
Already did its thing.
Yeah,
and a lot of the bashing on New Trek, even if you have some legitimate criticism about New Trek, and that's fine, a good overwhelming percentage of it, in my opinion, comes from people who can't let go of old Trek. And to me, that's not a valid reason to bash New Trek. If you want to bash it because of storyline, any of this stuff, you guys brought up some legitimate points. But I hear it all, and I hear it a lot. I've heard it before Next Generation came out. I heard it during Voyager. If your reason to destroy New Trek is because you can't let go of old Trek, that's a problem for me, as far as, like, I can't even have a conversation with you simply because we're not having a conversation about how you feel they're portraying progressiveness. We're having a conversation on the fact that you can't let go of the past.
Oh, I mean, I have no problem just having those episodes. I think our point, and I know that you're acknowledging that, but I think our point has been, it's fine to let go of old Trek, but New Trek is, in Picard at least, is holding itself back by insisting on bashing old Trek. They just need to let it go and move on, until
I actually got a different way, but I thought it will hold Picard back is the fact that it's trying to speak to the same audience that made those characters relevant. And we're in 2022.
I don't know.
And I love these characters. But listen,
it's one thing to move on. It's another thing to say everything that you thought was good about it. It's not. It's stupid. And then not show you something better. That's the point.
They're trying to
not show you something better.
They're trying to tell a next generation story in an era that those stories just need to be told in a different way, and they just didn't do it. They just didn't deliver. You know what? And to me, I got a cure for that. Listen, stop it with the nostalgia. I enjoyed these characters when they were on my screen when it was their time. You know what?
I think Picard is so bad that it's not even worth analyzing. That's how bad it was.
Yeah. Okay. What did you think about the Q aspect of it?
I was gonna say, that's what I was gonna say. Okay, the Q side of Picard, I really enjoyed it. I thought that was heartwarming, touching. I even got a little bit of a tear.
I almost shed a tear when he said, "What's this the whole point of this?"
I'm telling you, how they wrapped this season up kind of saved some of the shit, as far as I'm concerned. Like even Rio stand behind and helping out with. I loved it.
I was okay with it, but I'm like, wait a minute, isn't that breaking some rules?
Well, no, if you think about it, like, I mean, yes and no. You know, what was like it on First Contact? They were going to go to Graverta Island.
You can't take the Doctor from Star. What if she's supposed to have grandkids that are supposed to do shit? You just come on, Kirk. I'm going to come with you because I want to be with my whales. I'm like, what about all your children and all the guys you're supposed to bang and produce kids and stuff? That's not going to happen now because you're floating with Kirk, who you're just a side gig for him because you know he's going to still go. But you just take her out of the past. I mean, I thought there were rules, man. You just went Back to the Future on me. But okay, then, I mean, all right.
And then the Agnes bit, I loved it at the end with the Borg. I mean, I did get like Guardians of the Galaxy vibes when they were all like, the shields were all in harmonics, and it was like this big old bubble fighting against the. And that was like shoehorned. I saw some reviews and stuff that like didn't necessarily like that part, and I get that. But like,
I understood it though. It made the whole Borg arc that was going throughout the series. It made it relevant from beginning to end. Whether the quality of the arc was what you know that's subjective as far as
where it was good, bad, or in the middle, but it was still
but it means that when they looked at this story, they said beginning, middle, end. We're going to connect this, and I thought that was a cool connection. I thought that was one of the cooler things. I did like her. She's not signed on for next season. I mean, now we see why, but I did like her. Listen, I wanted to like Seven and Rafi. I got tired of them real fucking quick. Man.
Well, their banter was back and forth bickering. It was just kind of bad, but
it's poorly written.
And it was so out of character for what I know she's age and she's gotten older. There's a lot of time we haven't seen from 7 to 9, but
okay, I
never connected with her. I'm sorry.
With me on Picard, I stopped watching at episode 5 because I felt like I got cudgeled with the message or whatever. But I did say, I will finish it now that the season's over. I will go back and watch those last 5 episodes. I don't want to look. I want to like Picard. I do. And that took you guys a while to get me to even consider looking at Discovery and Picard. If you'll remember, you guys had to talk me into it.
Yeah.
But like, I want to like Picard. I do. But they've got to stop being so blatant with what they're trying to do. Like,
you get past episode 5, they stop doing that shit.
Yeah, okay. They do it, but then it just devolves into poor writing.
Then they
poor pacing, bad plot points. Yeah.
Well, I think it's because it's a season arc instead of individual episodes.
What they did to the Borg was obviously written by somebody who just doesn't like Star Trek.
I disagree.
Someone who
here's the thing, though.
Doesn't know, doesn't care. That's what you do with the Borg.
The same group of people that are handling
scrap junkers, Brian. They're scrap junkers.
The same group of people that are handling all this just gave me Strange New Worlds, and
it's not the same. Okay, by the way, you guys said it a couple times. People. No, it's not. It is a completely different writing group. It's the same producers.
Which is but they said they set the table.
That's what makes all the difference. It's who's putting the words to the paper. Those are the people.
You could argue that it's who sets the tone, but I get.
Yeah, no. You're giving way too much credit to executives. Executives say, "Here's the story I want to tell. Here's the story I want to tell," and they'll outline it, right? But then I could give that to 4 different writing groups, and if you made those 4 different shows from that same direction from Kurtzman, it's gonna turn out completely different, and that's the difference here. I mean, we have an example here. You have the same executive producers on Picard and Strange New Worlds, yet a different writing group, and therefore completely different tone, completely different level of quality. It's writing. Writing is where it comes down.
When I'm watching Discovery and Strange New Worlds, I feel the same tone.
Yeah, no, the writing is way different. It's a completely different quality. It is. From Picard to Strange New Worlds, completely different.
Or from Discovery to Strange New Worlds. Okay, so we can go into triangles.
Strange New Worlds says that you should look at the writer group, and you'll see what I'm saying. because I did. Look at the writing group. They share some of the people from Discovery, so that's probably why you're getting that flavor. But it is a different writing team from Picard to Strange New Worlds.
To me, as a fan, like I said, that was the most important concern I had for Strange New Worlds, is that it would have the tone and feel of that Pike that I saw in Discovery. And to me, you know, whoever made it happen, but like I said, these guys are setting the tone for this entire universe. I love Discovery. I mean, I don't know if I'm in the minority. I love Discovery. It doesn't have any more mess in it that any other Star Trek. So like I said, if you compare the first 2 seasons of Star Trek Next Generation, you know, I would rather drink out of the toilet than watch those again. But that series turned out well for me. The first season and a half of Discovery, especially with the different people, you know, handling the overall franchise at that time, changing up, you know, it was kind of hard to watch. But season 2, once Anson Mount takes that chair and comes in, and his quotes, I was in love, man. I mean, I really love his Captain Pike.
I had this conversation with Brian a long time ago. I was like, I watched the first season of Discovery and I didn't like it. And Brian said, you should keep watching the second season. It gets better. And it did. And I like Discovery after that.
I love the quote he says, Starfleet is a promise. I don't leave you. You don't leave me. That just is cool because you think about that quote and you think of all of Star Trek. And that's exactly how every one of those captains have acted. They would risk their careers to get for one guy. And it's always
all through all of Star Trek, and I've watched. Yeah, I'm not old enough to have been there for original Star Trek, but I watched it when I was a kid because my dad loved original Star Trek.
Same here.
And all through Star Trek, and I've seen everything with the exception of what's left of Picard season. The new season of Picard. One of the captains. All of the captains in different ways have been great, but one of the captains that's always intrigued me is Captain Pike. I've always had an interest in Captain Pike. And the different versions of him we've gotten along the way, I've thought, they've each kind of added a different layer to him. But I think this version of him in Strange New Worlds, I think we've got a lot of room to grow with him. Well, at least until he faces that fate that he knows is coming for him, if it does.
You know what's going to happen then, right, Brian? Everybody?
Yeah.
Will Wheaton's going to come in there and be like, hey.
What?
The Traveler.
You know who I am? And you know what? I'm 100% okay with that because we would have never known that to begin with. If that were to happen, we would have never – there's no way we can say, well, that's not canon.
And it gave an explanation as to why the Watchers do what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so like we know, at least at this point, we know that Pike's inevitable ending is comes to him being on Talos and being part of the menagerie, and I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with this captain having an inevitable fate. It's something we've never seen before.
Well, and the way they write it in the show too is they turn it into a strength. Is one of the themes of the episodes,
and that's another plus for me. Like, I have to tell you guys, I watched this. I was laying in bed this morning. I just, got back to Paramount Plus, and mainly because I really wanted to watch this series because I've been looking forward to this series since they announced it. And I have to tell you, man, I'm laying in bed watching this thing, and I'm like every moment of it made me smile. Like there was nothing to dislike about this episode to me. And it's really given me a hope that I can actually like what they're doing with Star Trek now. And like I told you guys before, not so much Scotty, but you, Brian, you and William, there was a point where I didn't want to touch anything Trek after a certain point. Like I was done and I put it on the shelf and I walked away from it. Now, mind you, I didn't tell people they had to hate it, but I didn't like it. And
you're like me with Star Wars. I'm stepping away from Star Wars because I'm tired of the Skywalker play.
So
I'm almost there with comic book movies.
Yeah, I'm way past it with comic book movies. Hey, did you all get any? Did any of you watch the show The Expanse?
Yes.
Did you tried, but I ran out of time.
Okay, Faye, did you get any drama vibes from her? Who William has?
Yes, I did actually. I did.
Yeah, and I loved that.
And this character right here, she intrigues the shit out of me. I want to know how far they go with her family name. I want to know how far they're going to go with her arc with that in this story. I mean, they wouldn't have given.
I want to see some Gorn flashbacks.
I want to see what she
Goran done right without. I mean, I know the effects back in the '60s was what it was, but I would like to see some CGI Goran because I think that.
Yeah, me too. I'm here for it. If they want to do that, I'm here for it.
Instead of,
Okay, hold on. TW, what do you keep talking about the divergent timeline thing? That was a thing in the movies. Has nothing to do with the shows. Nothing to do with the shows whatsoever.
Where's this at? Hold on.
In the chat.
It's in the chat.
He keeps bringing up the divergent timeline. Here, let me make it clear for you, TW. That's a thing in the movies. Has nothing to do with any of the TV shows at this point, anyway.
Well, I think what he's confused about is Discovery goes into the future. I think that's where the confusion comes from.
They do,
well,
but
he's
it's not
talking
a
about the
divergent
Kelvin timeline that originated from the movies. It is technically a parallel time because our original Spock that would be coming through this timeline came back into that thing. So you are.
Yeah, they haven't established that yet, though. They haven't established that yet. Let me put it this way: divergent timeline. If you ask the creators of Discovery, of Picard, and of this show, this is the same timeline as the original series, as Next Generation. The divergent.
Yes, it is. That's
but
my point.
That
timeline does exist, though.
I understand that, but I'm addressing directly TW McKay.
Where's
not a different Discovery is not a divergent timeline. Picard is not a divergent timeline. Strange New Worlds is not a divergent timeline.
He's asking the question. He's just asking the question. I got it.
I know, but he's asked it multiple times. I'm just making it clear for him because he was asking, is this a divergent timeline? No, none of the shows are divergent timelines at this point.
This is all prime timelines.
They're just different points in the main timeline.
Yeah.
Discovery starts at one point and ends up in another point because they go into the future. This show takes place before the original series. It's all on the prime time, what they call the prime timeline. It's all there.
The Kelvin timeline is technically supposed to disappear with the next couple, whatever the movie they go in. They basically they're supposed to eliminate that timeline eventually. So making this a prime timeline, they only did that because I say what you want about the J.J. Abrams movies and things like that. I know what the state of Star Trek was in 2008, and it wasn't good. New generations of people just it wasn't relevant to them, and it was dying, in my opinion. It hadn't been on TV for 3 years. We went another 6-7 years without it being on any new shows. It got people involved.
When did Enterprise end? 2005.
Enterprise ended in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So hot take. I actually like the first of the Kelvin timeline movies.
That's fine. I'm just making it clear that the TV shows are the prime timeline, and
we've established that they're prime timeline. I'm just bringing up the fact that I just a short 12 years ago, Star Trek wasn't on anybody's mind except for us hardcore people. So I'm happy we're now. Look at us now. We got this. We got Discovery. We have Picard. I don't necessarily like the way this season went, but we have a Picard to talk about, good or bad. Whereas we just went through a dry spot to where, like I said, unless you were a hardcore Trek guy like me, I couldn't find new people to talk to Trek about. So I'm happy that we can even have a conversation one way or another. The fact that it's so relevant now that we're talking about Pike. Hell, 20 years ago, if you'd told me we'd be talking about Pike on any level, I'd be like, I'll take that money from you. And I would have lost that bet. So, not just at Pike.
You would have lost it 10 years in the middle, too, because we had Pike in 2009. Yeah,
and this is a better Pike. I'm sorry. I like Bruce Greenwood, but this is a better Pike. I love this Pike. This is, this guy's great.
I also like the young girl that they've got playing Lieutenant Uhura. Well, she's a ensign, I guess now. Uhura.
She's a cadet.
I like her like her exuberance. I love her exuberance. Like she's happy to be there,
There she is. Cadet Uhura.
And TW, apologies for my tone. I'm still sick and grumpy. I love you.
Get off my lawn, Knobs. Hey, listen, Cylon's had a rough week. I didn't even know if Cylon was going to make it, so I'll take grumpy and living and breathing Cylon over anything any day. So we're good.
I'm just glad my buddy down there is feeling better, man. I know how that COVID shit feels. I've had it twice, man.
Well, yeah, it can go south real quick. I'm glad you're here. So
it knocked me off, but for sure, it surprised me.
It's been a fun week, man. It's been a fun week.
Yeah, it's been a fun week. Yeah. I mean, even with Doctor Strange, it was fun. I don't want to be, it was fun, whatever.
Don't get me wrong, guys. Don't get me wrong. Go see Doctor Strange because you are going to find your own fun in this movie. Like if you like,
there's a little bit of something for everybody in that movie. I liked it, but I liked it more because it was Sam Raimi movie to me than it was, because I'm a big horror movie fan. Silent and I have talked about this somewhat briefly. So I mean, the Sam Raimi element of that movie was amazing, and the way it pushed the envelope, that was almost like it skirted the edge of an R-rated movie. It really did. Like,
oh yeah, yes, it did.
It was good, and I liked it.
If you're gonna give Sam Raimi a movie, though, to me, give him all the tools and the time to do what he wants to with the elements that he wants to use. You could clearly tell that there was half Raimi there, and not because of him, but because they decided that this wasn't relevant or they wanted to cut time. So the 2-hour and 40-minute version, and somebody I think is Rational Skeptic asked me earlier if that 40 minutes you think makes a difference. Yeah,
it's going to make a huge difference. It's going to make a huge difference.
Are we going to get that cut?
Raimi's hinting that we're going to get. At least we're going to get to see those scenes on the release.
Yeah, okay. And when it comes out on Disney Plus or the physical media, and like I said, you could clearly see that movie needed it. And like I said, there's certain characters in there that I thought didn't get enough time.
In other news, Benedict Cumberbatch said today, I believe it was today, it was yesterday, that as long as they keep giving him good stories, he's willing to play Doctor Strange for the next decade.
Oh, that's bad news for Sherlock fans, damn it. But good news for comic book movie fans.
He can do both. He can do both. Right?
He could have been doing both for the last couple of years, man. Come on, give me more Sherlock. I only get 3 episodes a season when they do it anyway.
I know, right?
Knock that shit off too, man.
He does really well as Sherlock. He does Sherlock really well too.
That whole series was really well written,
dude.
And I will say this. Just about everything that I've seen Benedict Cumberbatch in has been good. I even liked his version of Khan. I know a lot of people didn't.
Yeah,
but I think he did well with what he was given. I think he did well with what he was given.
That's like Scarlet Witch. I don't like what they did with her here, but as far as her execution of it, top notch. She should be like some award, whatever, Saturn, with something like maybe even I don't know. Depends on what else comes out, but she gives you a performance that makes you feel that even though the character is not where I wanted it to go, I felt she sold it. I thought the brutality was a little bit much, but they wrote the character the way they wrote the character, and she did her part in it. And I'm like,
if you think about the way she was in Avengers Disassembled, when she took out the Avengers in that comic run, I got that feel with her in this movie. Like Avengers Disassembled was brutal, dude.
And by the way, listen, guys, don't get too connected to anything in this movie because it's a good chance that it could get blown up, right? or dismembered quite viscerally. So
I can't really talk about it anymore. Without spoilers, yeah. But by the way, Uhura, the scene in Uhura where without spoiling it, where the dude runs and he gets in the elevator with her, that was adorable. That was an adorable scene.
That was adorable as hell.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. That youthful exuberance that she has.
Yeah. I was just like, I can't wait to see more of her in this. This is going to be.
You know who she reminded me of, kind of? Hoshi in Enterprise. The way when she first comes on, how she's so excited to be there, and
that's a good call.
There's a character in this version that I do have a problem with. Obviously there's only one episode, and I'm gonna have to give it some time.
What's that? Which one?
Chapel. I didn't feel it with Chapel.
That's interesting. I didn't have an opinion either way, really. I had a friend who was like, "Oh, she's my favorite for sure." I was like, "All right." I don't know how to feel about it. She's bubbly, And
I think I might like her if she calms down a little bit.
She's gonna have some fun Dr. Nerd moments.
She's too Luoxana Troy for my taste at this moment. So
yeah, I think she's got like that Valley Girl cheerleader vibe. She's kind of got the Valley Girl cheerleader vibe to me. And if you think of Christine Chapel later on in the movies and the stuff, she's kind of toned down. I have a feeling that she'll end up being toned down like Chapel was later on, eventually. But you got to understand, all of these people are like cadets and youngsters. They've got that youthful exuberance. I mean, you got to wonder what it feels like going from the academy and actually being on a starship. That's like a big thing, and I think that a lot of them, like Uhura here and Chapel, they're new. They're just getting assigned. I think that they've got a lot of youthful exuberance to work through.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't have one way or another. Like I said, I'm going to give her more time, but like I said, that was the only thing about the episode that I was like, So
I like the Doctor.
Mabenga, or what was his name?
I
forgot his name. There's April out in the snow. Of course, we got to have our horse. I love the shuttle. The shuttle looked great.
Oh, and can somebody explain to me what is with captains of the Enterprise or captains of Star Trek in general living in Montana, for fuck's sake? Where does that come from?
They got to degauss, man. They got to get away from the ruckus, and get their mind prepared.
Like getting away from the city, man.
Which by the
wasn't Kirk from Dakota or something like that? Iowa. Yeah, but everywhere that you see these captains when they're letting their hair down, it's always somewhere rural. Picard, it was France. For Pike, it seems to be Montana.
Who lets their hair down in a bustling city though?
Which by the way, there's in the opening scenes where the shuttle comes down and he says, "You spooked my horse." That's a reference to a scene from Hell's on Wheels, and I got a little bit of a chuckle out of it.
Oh yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I was getting some motion picture vibes when he was pulling up in the shuttlecraft.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, there was.
When they did the roundabout to the the motion picture, they did it because the transporters were.
I got Generations vibes where they find Kirk in the Nexus.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
I've been trying since 1995 to forget that movie. Now you just undid all my therapy. Huh?
I love Generations, man.
Oh, worst. Come on.
I put it into my intro for 10 Forward. I loved it so much.
First Contact, my favorite of the Next Generation movies.
Is what?
I liked
First Contact.
I liked all.
Oh yeah, that's
Montgomery
First
Scott
Contact
scenes and Generations.
I like the Montgomery Scott scenes and Generations. Those were kick ass, man.
Yeah.
The first Contact and Wrath of Khan are tied for number one for me.
And I don't, but now the one I really just cannot get into, Generations is fine for me. I like the story behind the Elurians and Guinan's people. I liked all of that. The one Next Generation movie I couldn't get behind at all though was Insurrection. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people felt that way.
Well, they had 3 episodes that dealt with that in the Next Generation.
Yeah.
And they were half of them were 2-parters, so it was it was Michael Piller and Jerry Taylor did the writing in that. So
okay, so tell me if I'm wrong on this, but didn't that one just feel like an extra long episode?
Yeah, it felt like the most Trek of the movies, but the thing is that Trek doesn't translate well to the general audience. It didn't then, and it doesn't now.
Yeah, it has to be a little bit different in the movie scene.
So when they tried to make a movie like that, when they kind of just gave up on the general audience at that point, and not only that, but you guys have to remember that was 1989. What other movie came out that year?
Matrix,
The Phantom Menace.
That too.
Oh God! I went right to the Matrix.
I was so dominated by the Matrix too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Dude, Star Wars steamrolled Star Trek that year.
I was definitely one of those that when I saw the Phantom Menace, I was like, "What did I just see?" And not in necessarily a bad way. I was just like, I don't know how to know what I saw. The lightsaber battle was cool, but it was so different. It was just
my brief opinion on the Star Wars prequels is when I first saw them, I was excited for them. Later on, I kind of got where I was just meh about them. But I have to admit, one of my favorite Star Wars movies, one of my top 3 favorite Star Wars movies is actually the Revenge of the Sith. So I don't have as much problem with the prequels as a lot of people do. I guess
I didn't mean it like that. To be clear, I didn't mean it like that. I just
I think I'm eventually going to be okay with the sequel movies too. I have to have more time for them to be out there in the wild. I have to have more time for them to be like there. You know what I'm saying? Like one of my favorite Star Wars movies ever isn't even part of one of the trilogies. It's Rogue One. So like,
Rogue One is number 2 for me after Empire.
yeah. Well, for me, it's Empire, Revenge of the Sith, and Rogue One. Like they're my top 3.
My top one is hands down Ewok Adventures. No contest.
You did that with a straight face too.
I love how he
guys,
said that not only with a straight face, but he dropped the mic on it, sat back with his arms crossed, like.
All right, well, I think we have covered all the bases of this. Well, all 2-3 bases of this week. I'm exhausted, and I still got to get ready for Free Comic Book Day tomorrow. By the way, guys, if you are local here in Las Vegas, 10 to 10 tomorrow, we're going to be giving away free comics. I'm going to be having sales and stuff.
You know, William, in August, I'm going to be there in Vegas for DEF CON, and I want to come see you if you're down with that. If that's going to weird you out, though, I'll leave you alone.
That's if you don't get arrested by the FBI hacking division. Nah, I'm just kidding.
I work for the convention, and they actually have protections for you, by the way.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, I'll be here in August. August is a Star Trek convention. I plan on being there.
Cool.
So August, I'll be here. Like I said, I may go to Comic-Con this year. I haven't settled yet, but I know we have so August is going to be 110 degrees out here, man.
I'm trying to decide whether I want to go to Chicago Comic-Con this year or SDCC.
For me, I don't go to Comic-Con a lot simply because I don't like what Hall H and the whole movie thing does to Comic-Con. But because there's been so many delays and so many movies that are already going to have been released, and there's not really a bunch of movies that are going to be getting promoted at Comic-Con like that because a lot of stuff has been pushed down to a year away and all that, it won't be as congested. And a comic book guy may actually be able to go to a comic book convention and have some fun because I'm not a big fan of what it's become. If you want to do that stuff, do it on, add 2 days to the convention and have a pop culture addition to it. But to make it to where it's so hard to get tickets, so hard to move around with a fire marshal has to get involved, it's just sapped all the fun. And I was going to Comic-Con from 1988 all the way up until it just got unbearable. So, maybe
my first Comic-Con was in 88. Well, 87 actually, but yeah.
Yeah,
I feel you.
I was there the first year that they held it in the San Diego Convention Center when they first built that. In fact, we went one year. The last year I went, before they built it, you could see it being built. And it just became, but you know what? I don't need to see trailers and all that at a convention. I got YouTube, man. I don't need to be packed with a bunch of sweaty people in a tiny little room or have to hover around all these people when I can just click and see that. I got my surround sound here. I got a really giant movie screen here. I got a group of people I can jump online and talk with about it. I don't need that at a convention. But when it comes to conventions and actually meeting content creators and all that, all this other stuff has pushed all that stuff and made that almost inaccessible. So I'm hoping this year it'll be a little bit different because of the spacing of the movies, because of COVID would happen, and the fact that, new management has taken over some of these studios and they pushed it. Maybe there'll be like a dry spot for all that, and I can get in there and actually be a geek. And the cosplayers are cool. That's been a cool addition over the years that I think has been great. But all the other Hall H stuff, I'm like, ugh, come on. So, all right, guys, everybody, where can they find you, Brian?
Well, you can find me here most of the time on the Poindexter Lounge, Mondays and Saturdays. Mondays 10 forward and Saturdays to the max. Other than that, I'm actually kind of cutting back on my screen time. So,
Cylon?
I'm just here. I don't have a channel. My
all right.
My partner's going to be doing Babes in Toyland with Enosh's wife here pretty soon.
Okay. Thade, if anybody did want to find you.
Yeah, butthead. Anyway, a couple of nights a week, I'm usually at Poindexter Lounge doing the overnight show. I've been hanging out here with William here a lot recently with Sci-Fi Center Presents. I have a small Star Wars show usually on Friday nights with a buddy of mine, Josh, Order of Revan. We postponed till tomorrow because I had something I had to do earlier, but I would have been getting off of that just as I was coming into your show. If you're part of the karaoke community on YouTube, you probably find me 1 or 2 places there. Other than that, usually wherever geeky stuff is talked about, I can usually be found. whenever I have the time. So yeah.
Okie doke. And you can find me on the same place as Playing Extra Down. I got my own YouTube channel as well. I'm starting to build up. I was too lazy to put the link in there. But like I said, this has been a long week. There's been a lot to happen between May 4th and just where I'm sitting now and what we got to do tomorrow. So this is my lazy show. So it's actually one of the shortest shows we've ever done. But I think we covered everything in this hour and 15 minutes.
Good luck tomorrow, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Like I said,
Good luck on Free Comic Book Day, man. That's usually a hard day. I remember those days.
I have a lot of fun with it because I get to meet a lot of people. Like I said, we all have our little regions and stores that people go to in their neighborhood stores. Free Comic Book Day is where everybody leaves their little zone, and you get to meet people who you wouldn't wouldn't normally meet, and sometimes you can make a connection. So it's always a lot of fun for me. Actually, we kind of make it fun and some of the stuff that we do here. And then, like I said, we ordered a lot of books this year because it's been 2 years since we've been able to do this. I mean, the way that they've done Pre-Comic Book Day the last 2 years sucked. I knew why. I understood the necessity, but I'm so happy to be able to actually have it on the one day, first Saturday in May, for people to come out and, to get to meet them and possibly make make connections. I may not get out, I know you're still going to have your loyal store that you're right around the corner from that you've been in, but if I can, if I can get a quarter of that, or if I can at least meet you, you know what, I'll take my shot, So, all right, guys. Well, thanks for coming on, and I will see you next Saturday if I don't see you in between then.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Have a good day, everyone.